Dana, could you share a little bit of your story in terms of, I know there's been some big things that have happened in your life, and it hasn't even, not even that long ago, with burnout.
The sandcastles that we build, we want abundance, we do the mantras, we do the work, but we haven't healed the lack and scarcity in our life. I always say there's a high low. We're never going to rise above what we think we're worthy of. And I do believe we will attract and we will stay there and we will negotiate. And it depends on that core wound and our core fear. Our core wound will dictate our whole life, and that will be our core fear. So mine was safety. And so I negotiated, and I worked with a psychotherapist. Well, I interviewed her, not worked with her. I interviewed her, and she's actually wrote the foreword on my book that said, your dad's alcoholism was a gift to you. You never drank. You never, ever. And his gift was that he suffered for you. And I thought, I never thought of it that way. So if I look at everything through being grateful, it doesn't mean we don't mourn or grieve or get angry. These all serve a purpose. But the anger I lived in, what made me very trauma driven, made me a great lobbyist, set records that have never been broken, wasn't out of talent. It was out of trauma. It was out of fear. I had no idea I was so driven to and running so fast. We are not going to outrun our trauma. And it's going to cycle, it's going to loop, it's just going to come back. And the burnout is real. So I think when the burnout happened, I got sick. And I got really sick. I was in the top 2% of migraineurs of someone who suffered from migraines. I was hospitalized about 10 days a month.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jessica Papineau Show, living aligned, styled with purpose. I have an incredible guest today, Dana Grant. And let me tell you, we only have the best of the best over here at the Jessica Papineau Show, but you are in for such a treat today, having Dana speak into all of her amazingness. So welcome, Dana. I just adore you, and I can't wait for us to dive in.
I adore you, and genuinely, I am so stoked to be here today. But your energy, and when I knew that I saw on my calendar you were here, I'm like, oh, I get to connect with her today. It's just a frequency. We were just talking about frequency and what we call in, and perhaps what we need. And yeah, I always need some Jessica in my life.
And I need a little Dana in my life.
Yeah.
Isn't there a song? I can't remember the song.
I need a little country. I need a little bit of rock and roll. You mean that one, like from Donny and Marie Osmond, like from the 70s? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a little bit country. I'm a little bit rock and roll. Is that, were you thinking of that? That's what popped into my head.
Yes, I think that's the one I was thinking of.
This is going to be fun.
This is going to be really fun. So everyone, this is Dana Grant, and she is an international master life and business coach. She is an author. She is a keynote speaker, and she hosts global retreats. Now, this is really cool. Her influence spans continents. She leads transformational retreats in Italy, and she delivers sold out masterclasses in Paris and in Amsterdam. Like, wow. And
that sounds impressive to me. I'm like leaning in.
This is really, really exciting. Yeah. So Dana has not only been in Forbes, she's been in Microsoft, Medium, New York Today, and Miami Post, and so much more. She has a book that is coming out. She has other books that she has done in the past, and she is literally changing the lives of women that I know, high level women that are super, super powerful, but she is taking them to a whole other level by really teaching them how to connect to their intuition, to be able to trust it. And her energy is off the charts. And we met, I'll never forget the moment that we met, Dana. It was like no other.
I know.
Going to a line, and I was in the VIP row, and I'm going down the row, and there were names in front of each person where you were supposed to sit. And of course, I'm the last one there, because I always am. I was running behind and doing my hair, and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to be late. So I get there and I look and I'm like trying to find my name tag, and there's no name tag. And so I get down to like the very far right end, and there's one empty seat beside this beautiful, fashionable, Chanel chic woman. And there was an empty chair, but no name. And I looked over, and of course it's Dana Grant. And I said, I think that maybe you said, yes, this is where you're sitting. Come on over.
Yeah.
I go, sit down. And I literally and I feel people. I literally felt your energy. It was like you were magnetic. It like jolted my whole body. So,
but we had a pretty magnetic connection. And being in the front row, we had a lot of energy, and I mean, it was amazing how it felt kind of loopy, almost like an infinity loop of energy going back and forth. And I thought, oh, I have to be really respectful because we're in the front row and I'm chit chatting. I have something to say to her about everything.
Oh, yeah.
But it was instant. It was instant. Yeah,
it was. And these types of connections, I only have good in my world, and I just keep getting more. And I love you. I adore you. It's like, okay,
Ditto.
this is
Ditto.
she's my sister, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Did we,
total tribe, you just know when it's your home, you just know.
Yeah.
And I call it, a soul tribe, but our soul just knows the way. It just, if we don't second guess and our ego doesn't come in to try to separate and divide, it just was like, if you allow it to, it just kind of brought us home. It was like home.
It was wonderful. So I want to dive right into, what it is that you are doing with these high performing women. Like, obviously, there's so many coaches out there. There's so many, as high performers, like we're always wanting the best of the best to help us to get to that next level, step into this best version. But you attract one of the like elite, highest level women that are out there, and you're elevating them like way past where they may have even thought they could go. And so what I'd love to know, Dana, is I guess the how you do this in terms of, I know like you like break them wide open, and there's this thing that happens. And I know it's very magical, and I'm just so curious for you to kind of speak into it a little. Like, how did you get there, and what is this magic and this special thing that you do with such a high performing woman?
That's a good question. I think what intuitively came to me was one word, and that was trust. They show up and they trust that they're safe enough to unpack. But, being born, and I guess we have to go back because I feel like I'm cheating if I don't share it, being born an intuitive and thinking that I have to be either this or that. The pendulum was always swinging. I would ignore my intuition because that was, just too woo woo. And then I had to integrate. And so when I did, that's when everything was like magnetic pieces coming together. And then my business went boom because I was giving out all the answers. And of course, everybody wanted to know the answers. And there was a waiting list for a long time to get in because everyone wanted to know. And I'm like, here's your golden ticket here. That didn't work either. So it's a process of trusting myself that they were still going to show up and be patient enough to let me ask the right questions. And all those magnetic pieces, yes, I can see the outcome. Yes, I can see this life force energy and where they're going. But I also know that God gives us free will and that we have a choice and we can make different choices. That is not the directive. So all those magnetic pieces allow me to move them around and see them shift and ask better questions. Ask questions of, we want to use the word success as often as possible. It's been scientifically proven by utilizing the word success. And so there are just things I know that I do in repetition. They say it takes 21 days. This is why 21-day habit to start building a habit. I actually think it's longer to incorporate it, but I do things in repetition. And I start at a level of meeting them where they are. Everyone's at a different place. Sometimes they tell me what they want. And I'm like, well, that's not true. That's not true at all. But we'll start there and let's go where you really want to go. So, everyone's at a different place, but I think everybody wants to connect. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be at a level where there's peace and some form of success in their life, whatever that looks like. Abundance isn't always money.
Right.
I say that if we are the authority in our life, that is what money will follow. And that is true. You must be the authority, but we must be the authority in our life for joy, for happiness, for contentment, for peace, for prayer. We can't pass it off and say, can you just please do this for me? And I'll be over here waiting, really hustling and doing what I need to do while you take care of that for me. It doesn't work that way. We have to take radical accountability. And when we do, unbelievable shifts will take place and our soul will expand, where the ego, if it comes in and wants to protect, and if it doesn't integrate, we're just building sandcastles. If we want abundance and we're hustling and we're going to manifest and quantum leap, all of that means nothing. It's building sandcastles on top of a foundation that won't work. It just sifts through. We have to really get to that accountability, and that place takes trust to open up and meet ourselves where we are. And sometimes it's raw and it's real. And you're right, it's deep work.
Yeah. Well, and I know, Dana, you've done the work and and continue to do the work.
Yeah. We're a student forever. I thought, when I hit 60, I've just arrived, I've done the work. Nope. I will be a student forever. I think that when we start this evolution, and it is an evolution, it's a revolution. We have this evolution and we're constantly not reinventing, but expanding and losing layers and versions of ourselves that no longer fit. And if people are showing up and they keep wanting to pin that version back on you, remove those people. They're not your people. Don't be afraid to remove the people in your life that are holding you in a space that you no longer fit. It's really important to claim that, this space. Yeah. Kind of like outfits, isn't it?
You're speaking my language, and really, the wardrobe is like, it's a metaphor for how to live. And
absolutely,
and really, like, what you're talking about is really that fully connecting to self, reigniting, remembering all those things, but also at the same time releasing what's no longer serving us. We deserve to not only have a wardrobe, right, that we love,
I think
feels good on our body. We deserve to have the life, the relationships, the success. And Dana, could you share a little bit of your story in terms of, I know there's been some big things that have happened in your life, and it hasn't even, not even that long ago, with burnout. With physical things that were happening with you, and how that was affecting you, and impeding your success. And it sounds like, and I'm sensing, and I know we haven't known each other all that long, but I know you're on the other side of that really being broken open piece.
Yeah.
But my suspicion and my knowing is that this has just allowed this, it's just like bigger what you're doing now and who you're drawing in, and in this work that you're doing. Can you share a little bit about?
Wow, that's a loaded question, but I will, but we'll go to what the source is and not so much the circumstances. But I think that when there's lack and scarcity in our life, that's a vibration. And like I said before, the sandcastles that we build, we want abundance, we do the mantras, we do the work, but we're building, but we haven't healed the lack and scarcity in our life. I always say there's a high low. We're never going to rise above what we think we're worthy of. And I do believe we will attract and we will stay there and we will negotiate. And it depends on that core wound and our core fear. Our core wound will dictate our whole life, and that will be our core fear. So mine was safety. And so I negotiated, and, I think that the mother wound is big. And, I love my mother, and I know what she went through. And, and I loved my dad, and I know what he went through. And I worked with a psychotherapist. Well, I interviewed her, not worked with her. I interviewed her, and she's actually wrote the foreword on my book that said, your dad's alcoholism was a gift to you. You never drank. You never, ever. And his gift was that he suffered for you. And I thought, I never thought of it that way. So if I look at everything through being grateful. It doesn't mean we don't mourn or grieve or get angry. These all serve a purpose. But the anger I lived in, what made me very trauma driven, made me a great lobbyist, set records that have never been broken, wasn't out of talent. It was out of trauma. It was out of fear. I had no idea I was so driven to and running so fast. We are not going to outrun our trauma. And it's going to cycle. It's going to loop. It's just going to come back. And the burnout is real. So I think when the burnout happened, I got sick. And I got really sick. I was in the top 2% of migraineurs of someone who suffered from migraines. I was hospitalized about 10 days a month. And that was for over a decade. And I married someone who was a practitioner who took care of me. It seemed like the perfect fit. But while this was going on and that inner child was being taken care of, who needed to be, felt very loved. And here's this acts of service and all the things, I started to get well. I traveled the world for holistic clinics. I took medication that almost lost my legs. I got 17 forms of staph. I had a bone infection in they had to pull 9 of my teeth. People say, oh, you have beautiful teeth. You have no idea the price I had to pay for this. So I had to completely deconstruct and rebuild my identity, how I saw myself. And if there's any form of self-worth or self-esteem issues going on, you're not going to survive this. We have a crossroads where we have to level up and meet ourselves there and do the work, or we hide and we go into the shadow work. And the shadow work is where we hide. It's where we don't want to show up. We don't want to share. We don't want transparency. We don't want vulnerability. We do anything not to be called out. And I called myself out. I tore up some medication scripts and I said, no more. They were giving me 20,000 milligrams a month. And I said, no more. It's funny. I didn't go through withdrawal. I didn't go through any of that because I have an atypical reaction to medicine. I've never drank. I never did any recreational drugs, but they give me a prescription and I trust them, and it almost killed me. So in that recovery and being, this is a big story. We're going to just unpack a little bit of it. Yeah. Being married for almost 30 years, I found out as I was healing. So this could not have happened any sooner. And this is where I say we have to trust the process and trust that God has set us up in the right place at the right time. I had done enough work when I found out that at 25 years of being married, if someone who was, I thought, devoted and took care of me was having infidelities with his patients. It was a pretty public event. And I was in disbelief. I could not believe it. I did not believe it. I said, I can set my clock by him. But as I look back, there was, once again, we look at the core wound. The inner child was getting all her needs met. She was being taken care of. The woman who was healing was not getting her needs met. There was not emotional availability. There was a lot of sadness. We have to, really circle our life and our experiences and say, am I? And I was sad. And I thought, what is going on here? All this healing, all this work, and I'm sad. And there was that crack open, and I did stand by him because number one, I didn't believe it, but I also was healed enough to hold space for the version of the man that showed up for me and the version that was very broken, and that I could see what had happened to him. It didn't mean I stayed at 30 years, and I am now just divorcing, which is monumental to me. But we've done it in a way where we're friends. We support each other, and I healed, he's healing, our daughters are healing. There's so much, but in this big, messy life. And, there was someone that said, boy, your life is really full of trauma. And I used to be offended at that. And now I'm like, oh, you bet. I would never hire a life coach if I did not see what she went through. And I want to, number one, see how you handled it, but I want to see you on the other side of that mountain. And like you said, I am on the other side. Mm-hmm. And the book doesn't depict all the stories, probably not to the depth of what I just shared, but enough. And utilizing 14 universal laws and modalities that get people through enough of tools to get them through just about anything that they might be dealing with. And that's what I wanted. I didn't start out to do that. I started out to tell the story. In fact, I started out because I wanted to write how violated I was, violated over partnerships in the past, and violated and betrayed. A life of betrayal. Yeah. I don't call that in anymore. In fact, I've just recently had a phone call with someone who reached out and said, I was in a group and I prayed about you, and she is going to be on my podcast next week, and that is going to be huge. We're going to talk about partnerships and healing and what attracted us and the love and the friendship and the destruction and all of it. So huge. Everything comes I believe everything comes full circle. If we can hold the space, we can be patient, we can trust, and we stay steady and we stay out of that reactivity and we can respond and be still. It's very hard to be still when we feel trauma and we're in pain and we're being judged and there's competition. You know, I have so much empathy and love for women. I just do. And I think I hold space. And I'm like, let's heal and build at the same time, because you know what, you can do that. And you know, anyone that says it's my karma, I've got terrible karma in this, I'm never going to be past 6 figures. I'm like, karma, burn through that. Burn through whatever you think you're carrying. Let's burn through quickly. Let's light it on fire. Burn that shit down and let's go. Because I believe we can move mountains, but we have to choose to. It's very, very deliberate.
Hey there, it's Jessica Papineau. If your wardrobe feels more like a source of stress than a source of confidence, I have something special for you. My Simplify and Elevate course is an online, step-by-step journey to transform your wardrobe and your mindset. You'll learn how to let go of what no longer is serving you and curate a wardrobe that truly reflects the powerful woman you are. Imagine starting each day with clarity, confidence, and a sense of ease, knowing exactly what to wear to feel unstoppable. This isn't just about clothes, it's about stepping into your full presence. Join me at csjstyling.com and let's elevate every aspect of your life, starting with your style. Dana, thank you for being so transparent. I didn't know how much you were going to share, but I truly appreciate you sharing as much as you have. I think, you know, there are so many of us women, and I serve a lot of coaches and executive coaches and women that are doing really big things, speaking on big stages. And, you know, I feel that we have a responsibility to share our story too, not just the piece of our frameworks and you know, and teaching others, but being real, being raw, being authentic. And you know, when you do this, you are giving other powerful women the pause to give themselves the permission to do the same, because our stories are part of us. And it's allowing you to serve in like the deepest way. Like when you speak, I feel that frequency. I feel that energy rise. I feel that expansion. And I know that your clients have had big transformations, like really big.
I don't know how. You know, it was the strangest thing. I think that everything will meet us where we're at vibrationally. And I think when I started, it was come one, come all, and door open. You know, I'm a new life coach, and that was a long time ago. And they all came, and I'm like, what have I attracted? I'm like, what am I doing? And I learned so much. And, you know, being a master certified life coach, it means I put in a lot of hours. And I think the healing is a lifetime. You're not devoted to this work. I don't think that anybody hangs up a shingle to be a life coach or do the deep work if they haven't had a big life to unpack. And the acceptance and to pay that forward means I have to share, and I have to share at a level of vulnerability that is helpful, not at a level of vulnerability that makes me look better, or it doesn't work that way. I think we must connect on a soul level. And if we don't, and this is why there's so many life coaches out there and that I coach that aren't making any money, that aren't making the impact they could make. And it's always so frustrating to me. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But what they're doing is they're taking a blueprint or a copy of someone that they think is doing well, that isn't their energy at all. And I've seen this many times. I don't even do cease and desist. I've had people copy my websites, my photographs, all of it. I don't even do a cease and desist because it's never going to work for them. Mm-hmm. I'm flattered that they love it, unless they're hijacking, my workbooks, and then we're going to stop. We're going to stop that because we got boundaries these days, because I'm a certified boundaries coach too. But I remember taking the boundaries course and saying, I can say no and not explain. I'm what is this? And, I remember that as I was still creating Cauliflower Foods with Amy Lacey, when we were taking a course together, and I was looking at her on this boundaries course, and I'm like, did you know you could just say no? And I said, do you believe this stuff? And we were in a Christian life coaching course, and she's just looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, this is blowing my mind. And it was the book Boundaries, which I got certified into, because it opened up. And I think I'm like a puppy. I always want to be in a room where people know more than me, teach me, expand. I want to expand. I want to know, I want to grow. And I don't think we will ever arrive.
No. It's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah. We hear those things and then we live those things. And it's like, this is what it looks like living it. We're never a master, or, what did someone call me the other day? And I'm like, well, that's really flattering, but maybe I'm a leader and I am the authority in what I do. I can say I'm really good at what I do. I know that. I'm very confident in that, but there's always room to learn more. I'm always open to shifting, and I'm very pliable in the fact that new information can come in and can heal versions of me that I didn't know needed to be healed. And I'm open even more. It's more expansive, because that is our goal, for our soul to be expansive and to be on this. Our soul is on a mission. It just is. Yeah. And the ego, we don't want to kill it. We don't want to squash the ego, but it's here to divide, separate, judge, protect. And I have to be very grateful. It protected me for a long time, but it also will keep you small, frightened, not showing up, afraid of what people think, all those things. I don't know. Maybe when I hit 6, I just don't care what people think anymore. There isn't that much time left. I mean, I've got 25 good years left. I'm in this last quarter of my life. I'm going to let my freak flag fly. And if I can get women in their 30s and 40s or 20s or even younger, I'm a mentor at the university and I sit on the board there. If I can get them to work through that now, that fear and that vulnerability to be seen, I'm going to do it.
I love that. So tell me, I just want to know a little bit about, and I know everyone that's listening is like, I want to know, how do you work with clients? Because you have one-on-one clients. I know you have your waiting list and all the things. Yeah. And then I am just so intrigued by these retreats. And what is that? What is that all about? And tell us about like Italy and how do you work with your clients, first of all?
Well, it's morphing and changing. I have a book coming out that'll be released in about a month. I'll go on a book tour. I do VIP clients, which means that people they get one day and I meet them in certain cities. And I have a playbook, and I do intuitively. Everyone's different. The last time I took them to an Inga room, there's always a Michelin star restaurant or a James. It's always up leveled, but I just chip away very delicately all day until I go tap, crack, and then I build out their plan. And it's a powerful day. I couldn't even I couldn't even articulate what happens, but it's magic. And so I do those. And last year I did them in Chicago, Nashville, and they sold out instantly. And I loved it. I loved it. My team shows up and we do photographs and we do B-roll. It's all in. We're all in. So there's that. Then I do an Italy retreat. I love Italy. I think utilizing the magic of Italy, the oldest bank in Sicily, all of the things in order to crack open money stores, in order to hit the streets with fashion. I want them to up-level their life and utilize that city, what they might not have thought was possible. I do goddess ceremonies in the chapels at the villa. And I mean, we burn and release. Burn and release is very important, to write out what you don't want and release it and leave it there. Last time they all had their goddess dresses and crowns on and they all ended up in the pool. And I'm like, you're going to be taking those dresses back wet. But you can't design this the way it always turns out. And the right people always show up for it. I never I never fret. I'm never stressed about, oh, it won't sell out or who's going to show up. I know the right people are going to show up. I had someone as young as 25 and I had someone as old as 75. And right now I work with someone as old as 82, 83, unbelievable coach from New York. And I work with someone as young as 22, just rebooted her whole college trajectory. So I think that energy is energy. And so I love doing that all over the country, all over the world. I'm getting ready to walk the Camino in September, and then I'll be heading to Italy again, holding a little bit of space, but no retreat this year, because I'm doing some personal work and some one-on-one work. I've got clients in Italy. I've got clients all over the world. So, I start very early in the morning and I make my way around the globe, which, at any given day, I sit here on Zoom and I visit a lot of countries. And I'm usually here on Zoom about 8 to 10 hours a day. And I love that. And I walk very early in the morning. I walk at night. There's a lot of joy, a lot of contentment. And for the women that are thinking, I can't scale like that. Well, I have a mastermind at the business boardroom and the abundance architect that will be opening back up. So there's different divisions that I hold space for. And when the time is right, I open those back up.
What I find so cool and so interesting is just your energy, your level of energy, because I know like we voice memoed back and forth and you're like, it's like a Saturday or a Sunday and you're like, I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm going on my walk right now, but but I got to get back to my client and I'm at my desk for 8 to 10 hours a day. I mean, and I'm trying to understand, how is it that you're 60? Like first of all, you do not look your age. You do not look your age. You look so much younger than your age. I mean,
and we had no filters here. We had no filters here on Riverside, so we're filter free today.
You look absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
But you have this abundance of energy, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of that has to. You're a very healthy woman.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about this energy that you have, because, oftentimes as we get a little bit older, it's not like we were when we were 30 and in business and we could do these crazy, how do you preserve that and maintain that?
Passion. I am so passion driven. I am so heart centered driven and connected. I really can't answer that with any legitimacy without saying that. I'm not a big sleeper, but I am very regimented. I go to bed early because I wake up at 3 a.m. I do a meditation prayer time. I look at my day and then I start. It rolls out. I'm consistent with my practices on what I do. I have an amazing team that supports me so I can do what I do best. I do not multitask. I do not handle the tech, the back end, but I have people that do, that I trust emphatically. And that really, I mean, anything under $45 an hour, delegate it out. The women that are out there doing I can't afford it and I got to do all my admin. Nope, you're just spinning because you're afraid to go out there and do what you need to do. And that's be visible and say, I'm available. And I believe that we have a responsibility. If I know my capabilities, and I do, and I know someone needs my help, I'm going to reach out and send them a message and say, listen, you are on my radar. I'm thinking about you. Let's hop on a Zoom. If I know that I can help someone and make their life better, it isn't about selling. Some people get so caught up in the money and the selling. I never think about that. I think about the obligation that this is my responsibility, that it is not their responsibility to come find me because I'm so no one, I mean, let's face it, the world is busy. No one knows me out there. I mean, really, we have to show up and build our energy field. It's, we know that it goes out in a certain amount of feet in all directions, but we can extend that by our practices. So yes, I wake up and I meditate. I drink an enormous amount of water all day long. I've never drank alcohol, no illegal drugs. I've never smoked. There's all those things. I love sugar. I have to be careful with sugar. I did have 2 Jellos today. I thought they were sugar-free Jellos because I wanted a snack and they weren't. And I'm like, oh, I just ate a lot of sugar in that Jello. But, I think that if we're feeding ourselves appropriately, I love fruit. I call myself a fruitaholic, but I'm also a vegetableaholic. I food prep. So I make sure that there's time built in for that. So I guess I do spend a lot of time alone. I read. I really make sure that I'm where I need to be, because you cannot fake authenticity. You cannot fake energy. You cannot fake connection, or we don't know what's wrong with that connection. We like the person. We don't know why we're not saying yes, but it's like sand again. It's building sandcastles. People want to be something they're not. Start on the inside. Do the work. Do the work. We hear that a lot. And it's not always easy to do the work. We have to face the dragons.
Yes. Well, I'm just in awe of you and what you've built and what you're doing. You touched on something as you were just sharing about visibility, and I wanted to go back to that for a minute.
Okay.
One of the things that in the business that I'm in, I really am teaching women how to be visible and comfortable being visible. So I wanted to touch on that because I find, a lot of the work that I do with fashion it's also tied in with coaching and, really helping women to get this visibility and be comfortable being there. And I don't know if you find this, but I see so many women that do have these incredible gifts, these incredible programs, even that they have that could be shared with so many more that truly need that service, that truly need that person, but they're not making themselves fully visible. And it's interesting because it's kind of like this dual thing. It's like, I think it does have to do with trust. And you brought that up in the very beginning about trust. But, women want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be held. Doesn't matter if we're high performer, super success, or where we are on the spectrum. Every woman desires that. But what I find, because I can hold that space just like you can, but once they're in, that's kind of like a little bubble that they're in, right? When they're with us, but then they have to go and they have to show up and be visible. And I just, I think that is something that women you're teaching women, you're showing them, you're holding that space with them to be there. And then you're embodying it and living it and teaching those that are just, this is why your podcast has blown up. I know this is why your podcast has blown up, because it's reaching so many people that need these messages. You're sharing it, you're living it, you're embodying it.
Right. Well, it's so interesting you say that because people think they have to start when all the circumstances are right, at the perfect moment, when I lose the weight, when I do the thing, when my website launches. I'm going to tell you, and I don't know who needs to hear this, but I feel like I need to share this. Through some of my trauma, I gained over 80 pounds. I don't even know how it happened. Maybe it was my age. I was already post-menopause. So because that happened at 46, but in my mid 50s, I've lost 85 pounds. And I did it within a year, and people are like, are you on Ozempic? Nope. I did it because I decided enough. I also had healed enough to where my body just let go. But it didn't mean I didn't have to show up and start working out. I don't shame myself for what I did. I still showed up on all the stages. I bought Gucci belts that were size 42. I think it was the biggest size I could get. I really did show up, and I didn't shame myself or say, when I lose the weight, then I'll do that. I built this business and I bought the clothes. In fact, the room right behind me is a full bedroom as big as this office. It's big. And it is a full wardrobe of probably size 12 to 18 clothes that are beautiful. I didn't scale back and say, I'm not going to buy. I showed up like I loved that version of me. And I look at the pictures and I can see the love. I can see I loved myself through. I didn't shame. You cannot shame your way to success. It just doesn't work. And this is where they show up. They might get a new outfit with you. And this is why you coach them and you do full circle. It's about the integration of, it's the sandcastle effect again. If I am shaming myself, but I look great, it doesn't integrate, and people feel that. But it just show up at every level, be transparent. It was hard to gain that weight and say, I just lost a human being. And people are like, ooh, that's late. People said, oh, I wouldn't hire a leader like that. You must hire a leader that's trim and fit. And there's something out of balance in your life. Well, I was working on that version. And you know what? I think that that perfection that people are looking for, if you hire someone that has all the perfect circumstances, or you think all the circumstances line up, you know, everything you're checked, it's usually not what you need. It's in the imperfection. It's in the messy. It's in the willingness to show up through that whole process. And I mean, I look back and I'm like, wow, you really were bold. Don't do that again. Don't ever do that again.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just point in case
Yeah.
of you embodying it and really, you know, walking the
Yeah.
walk. There are many people in this business, like you
Yeah.
said, that are in, you know, that are in the coaching business, leadership, you know, like
Yeah.
have all these incredible frameworks and books, and they're on stages, and they're talking the talk, and the words are really great. They're great
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
But are they walking the walk? And you,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, you can tell the difference. Like
Mhm.
I feel the difference. You
Yeah.
can tell if somebody is actually doing the work. And I know myself personally, I mean, you're talking about, you know, your story and sharing and being authentic. I'm
Yeah.
sure that has not always been an easy thing. It's just
Oh
that's
no.
it's not always an easy thing. And in fact, you know, I had so much shame around
Yeah.
sharing my own
I
trauma,
know.
my
I
own
think it's why
stories.
I think we didn't trauma bond, but I trauma recognized, because
Yeah.
my resistance, and I wanted to show how successful I was, what I was doing. This is what it looks like on this side. But it wasn't until I was willing to share. And I think it was my three daughters that said all the awards I was getting and all the things I was doing. They're like, but you still haven't said the thing. And what they wanted me to talk about was the medicine. They wanted to talk about the illness. They wanted to talk about the years that they held pain, that they lost. And, you know, there's a prayer, the Ho'oponopono prayer, that, you know, I love you. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. We don't have, we have to mean it, but we can keep it very simple. And whenever trauma comes up, I don't resist. I don't make excuses. I hold space. I'm able to, because my body can hold space now. I think we resist because we're in so much shame, and we just can't take it on because it's just too much. So I have a lot of compassion for women that are holding that much shame too, because I did, and I resisted, and I denied, and I defended, and everybody, I pointed the finger, and I was the victim, and the whole world is so cruel to me, and look what I've lost, and I'm betrayed continually. Yes, I was betrayed continually, but guess what? I called that in to heal. And that's where the gratitude, you know, when I say gratitude and love and compassion are always the answer, they are. And for every version of me that showed up, I go through on good and bad days, that showed up through the hardest years, through the most turbulently. I'm so grateful for that version of me that was able to show up, even if she was messy and road raging. I'm like, I'm so grateful for you. We didn't get shot, because nowadays you get shot. No more doing that. You know, I mean, but it's true. There's so many messy versions of me, and so many imperfect versions. If anyone thinks you just land here and that it was just this angelic unfolding, but I did present that for a long time.
I did as well.
Yeah.
I found, and I don't know if this was your experience, Dana, I was having a hard time understanding why I was calling in what I was calling in, and I didn't know
Yeah.
I was calling it in.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't know. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, you know, I would have women that would reach out to me, and they would tell me that, because I always did the market research, you know, when did you start following me? Why, you know, why
Mm-hmm.
did you reach out? Where did you find me? And well, Google, they always would find me on Google and go over to
Mm.
social media, but it would take them 6 months to a year to book the call.
Yep.
And I couldn't figure out. Once
Oh
they
yeah.
talked to
Oh,
me,
I know
it
this
was great.
story. Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out, like, I'm doing all the right things. I'm showing up on social media. I'm going on my stories. I'm going on podcasts. What changed everything was when I told
Oh, my story,
my story,
my truth.
my truth. I told it, and I was, oh my gosh, was I scared? I hired a coach to write my keynote. I tried to memorize it. I
Oh yeah.
had all my slides,
Oh,
and
I
I
know this
went and
one.
did my FFT, and I won't say what that is because I it's the F word. is in there. But anyway, go to share my
I
story.
say use that as much as you can in my personal space. It is one of my favorite words. I'm not going to lie about that either. I'd be a fake if I said I don't love saying that in my own personal space.
I did. There are appropriate times for it.
There's appropriate times. I just have to say it. I just
definitely,
not on stage, on a podcast, probably not in public.
But it was so interesting. I thought I was going to do it perfect.
Yeah.
And I totally screwed the whole thing up. I couldn't do my slides. I was clicking the thing and it was like chewing gum and walking down the street. I can't do that either. I learned no slides for me. But I started reading and then I was like messing up and I lost my pages and then I just put the whole thing down and in front of 32 women, I think it was, like big, powerful, like high performing. I mean, this woman had flown me out to Portland, Maine to speak and I just said it. I was like, oh, and I looked around and saw I saw women crying and I told stories and I'm, oh my gosh, ever since that day, everything shifted. What I attract is different.
You connected to you and then you were able to connect to them and nobody wants, and I'm going to tell you, if anyone's listening, nobody wants a presentation. I hired one of the best speaking coaches in the world, I think, Gail Larson, and she's in her 80s now. But she said, rip it up, rip the script up. I'm like, oh no, this is my keynote. She said, if I have to read another keynote and I'm like, but, and she goes, nope. And she made me rewrite it like 5 times, maybe 500 times. It was crazy. It was like my 10-year-old that wanted that perfection kept showing up and asking her, is this good enough? Is this good enough? And all she wanted me to do was connect and tell my story. And I would have rather done anything than to let someone see inside the mess, the pain, be judged, the shame, all of it.
Yes.
But it's where we allow that light in that heals. And I don't care if someone judges. I mean, I've gotten these anonymous letters. I think we talked about it a little bit. I've gotten 2 of them that come in that are very dark, telling me who I am and this and that. And I'm like, you know what? It never impacted me. It was like, it says more about the person writing the letter. And I'm rubbing up against all of their trauma, their lack of success, all of it. And all I want to do is send them love and say, please heal. Please heal. This isn't about me. I hope I'm safe. But, when we become more visible, people are going to be unhappy with us. When I lost the weight, women stopped following me, and it was like, wow, all I did was, I spent a lifetime with an eating disorder being underweight. And then, I had to find this place where health was my only goal at this age. It's like, if I'm going to do this and I have an enormous amount of energy, I have no plans on stopping. We better get healthy. And it's, and now I'm weightlifting and I'm taking it to a whole new level. So by the time I'm 65, I'll probably be bodybuilding. Who knows?
You're reversing your age, I think, is like you're going in reverse now.
Well, I think energy is, I don't focus on that. But what I do, it is very strange. I'm not turning gray. But who knows? Maybe it'll happen all at once. I don't focus on it. I never think about the aging process. I do think sometimes about my shoulders, from cycling for years and they hurt in the morning. But it's very quick. I love my little heat pack. I do my little rituals that I do, and then I get on with it. I just am on a mission and I'm not going to be stopped by what anyone says or does. There are billions of people in the world. Mm-hmm. I appreciate everyone's opinion. Someone just said that it was word moronic or word salad or something on YouTube, and my team screenshot it and said, "Oh, do you want me to answer? Are you going to answer this message?" And I'm like, "Why would I do that?" And I thought, yeah, I will. I said, well, it's kind of like a bad smoothie when you just throw too much in. I said, I imagine the heart energy and the mind energy I went back and forth was just overwhelming for you. So let's break it down with the north and the south. I said, we're going to go south to north because the heart sends the message to the brain. It's not the other way around. And he never replied again. But, sometimes I'll have fun and do that. But I'm okay with anything. It doesn't offend me. I
love that you're bringing this up because that is one of the things with the visibility that I hear women say. And sometimes it stops them from
Oh
from
yeah.
showing up when that resistance comes up. But and that's why I think it's so important that we share like
Yeah.
the story that you just shared,
Yeah.
because I remember, I mean, it's happened to me too. And I remember the first
Yeah.
time it happened, how devastating it was,
Yeah.
and horrible. But it
Yeah, the
just
younger version of me would not have liked that. But now I get things. Are you a transvestite? I'm like, I laugh. I'm like, where did you get that? Maybe I hold a lot of masculine. Well, I do hold a lot of masculine energy for a lot of people. I coach a lot of attorneys too. Maybe that's it. I never take anything too seriously, especially myself, or they can't believe I haven't had a nose job because I would look so much more beautiful if I did. And I'm like, oh, wow. You know what? I lost my dad when he drowned at 50. I look just like my dad. Every time I look in the mirror, I see my dad. I'm never touching this nose. So, we all have a connection and a story behind everything. And when people say things that are so thoughtless and senseless, I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. My favorite line is to sit back and say, that's so interesting. You say that. What's beauty to
I
you?
like that.
Yeah.
I like that comment back.
Yeah.
But I'm just glad that I'm happy that we're bringing this up, because I think, those that are like striving for more, that want more, that
Yeah.
are, seeing
That
this
deserve
success,
more, that probably deserve more too.
that deserve more, that they're ready to call it
Mhm.
in. They know what they're going to step into. They're becoming it. Know about the resistance that's going to come up,
Oh, yeah.
because that's your indicator.
Yeah,
That
new
when
level, new
that
devil. Yeah,
happens,
new level, new devil. Yeah, that resistance, that diversion, the sky's going to fall in, your pipes are going to break, your
yeah.
car is going to break down, your bank account's going to be in error, everything's going to go haywire. And what I do when these things happen, I just sit back and say, "Oh wow, big things are coming." Big things are coming, and I never give it any of my energy. We put out the fires if they're necessary, but I don't spin out like I used to. If I got a red light on my car, like I just had, when I didn't realize that my Range Rover barely has the 30,000 miles on it, because I just don't drive because I'm here in front of Zoom all the time. They're all airport miles, but I was out of warranty, and I just paid it, and I thought, oh wow, how do I get out of? They said because you've waited 4 years. I'm like, I've owned that 4 years. I thought it was like 70,000 miles, but something went wrong. A light went on, but I didn't spin out the old me. I would have like, oh my gosh, this is going to be an enormous bill. Well, it was. It was like an $18,000 bill for a little electrical part, but because I was under mileage. And I had seen the day before 77777. I'm like, what are the 777s for? And I had taken it to a local place, and they said, you have to take it to the dealership. And I'm like, here we go. And I just had that seven. The signs were already showing up, but I paid attention. I have never opened that book in the car. I don't look at any of that. It's like I opened it. I went to 7 years, 70,000, and that part was under warranty. So yeah, it was that much money. So see, we get the information. Our job is to pay attention, not to dismiss the signs, and that it's all, God is working for us, not against us. The universe is working for us, not against us. We just have to lift but if I was in this reactivity, I would have never have paid attention. I would have been spun out, stressed out. Everyone around my energetic field would have felt that like manic, crazy energy. And I just won't allow myself to go there because it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Well, Dana, I just appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for coming in today and pouring into everyone. Is there any, because I know you get these like downloads of what you feel called to do and say, is there any little anything that you feel like you missed today, or you feel like you want to put out there? Because I know there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this episode.
Nothing is, I have no directive, and I just usually just go on intuitive hits. And what came in again was really claim success as much as possible. It's scientifically proven. I'm just a scientific nerd when it comes to numbers and mathematical equations and what it is on the playing field, what is available to us. So I think listening to signs, listening to your intuition, which doesn't mean, well, I would say one thing. Here's one thing. This might be helpful to people. They say, well, I listen to my gut. Well, your gut is attached to your spleen, which is where all your fear is processed. We don't want to listen to our gut. We want to listen to our intuition. It sits differently in our body. And there's a knowing, and it is not fear-based. Intuition is never fear-based. So if I could leave them with that, and don't second guess yourself, make the mistake. I mean, it doesn't mean that we're flawless. It means that we were guided to go in that direction and that we metabolize it very quickly and say, good to know. Now I make the pivot. In fact, one of the billionaires that I just interviewed, he said that the quicker you can make the mistakes, he says, why everyone else is calculating the numbers and trying to figure out the next move. I've already made the move and I've made 3 mistakes and I've already won. Make the mistakes, show up. And, winning is in the accumulation and the accountability of saying, yeah, I showed up. I did everything I could. I left nothing on the table.
Gosh, your energy is just off the charts, Dana. I love you so much. Thank you for coming in. I know you have a book that's going to be launching, right? Right away. So can you just share the book and what to look out for? And then we're going to put all these links in the show notes because people are going to want to be following you, listening to your podcast.
Oh, I can't wait. Well, I always love to answer if they send me a message, I will answer. It may take me a while, but I will be doing the answering, not my team. I've always made sure that I have committed to that. The book is called The Truth Within the Lie. It is what our subconscious, our programming tells us and how we show up in our life and protect the ego and the heart energy and the 95% of the maze that we live in and the truth. So I talk about the truth that's really happening and the lie. And I give 14 of my stories, 14 universal laws, a lot of modalities, a lot of everything, not anything I thought I would write, but how it turned out is exactly what I needed to write. And I just wanted to be of service. I wanted to be helpful. And that's where my heart was at.
Well, anyone that was listening today and got all the incredible, the incredibleness of you is going to be wanting this book. So I can't wait for it to go live.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Connect with me on Instagram. I love the expansion. I love Jessica. Anyone that loves Jessica is my people's, my people's. Yeah. I adore you.
I adore you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'm so happy that we had this episode today. It was divine. The timing was perfect. And thank you so much for all that tuned in today.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.